Welcome to this edition of the Avon Bay stream. You're watching Countdown to War. My name is David Zelenka. I go by Endless. I'm joined today by Jay Shelanskey. What's up, Jay? How you doing?
Hi,
Say
Jay
hello to everybody.
Shelanskey.
You?
I go by Jay Shelanskey. I don't have a cool moniker like everybody else, so just Jay Shelanskey, I
Oh, I'm
guess.
sorry. Is Jay the Fifth Trooper
Yeah,
Shalansky? There
that's
you
right.
go. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's right. This is not going to be a hot tub stream. So what we're here to do is there's going to be a game played on Saturday, and it's going to be between two members of the Notorious Scoundrels, Mike Dashz Barry and Kyle Orkimedes Dornbos. I know their names. I swear, I didn't come without doing my homework. Jay, but they're part of your network, right? They're part of what you do, right? So,
Yeah,
so
and for those of you at Yavin based community don't know, David used to be part of our network, but he went and wanted to venture out and make this beautiful Yavin based community, which has been doing wonderful stuff, and we're very excited for David. But yeah, they're all over on the Fifth Trooper Network. You know, we started off with the Fifth Trooper podcast, which is our kind of our flagship podcast, and then Mike and Kyle and Zach now do the Notorious Scoundrels, which is kind of the, if you want to get real nitty gritty and the rules of Legion and how to beat the pants off your local folks at your local store. That's you go listen to them. They'll give you some real good moves. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 9 or 10. I don't know off the top of my head.
there we go. Ah,
You
crap! I
caught
got
me
muted.
there. Yeah. Um, yeah, so we're doing beginner's guide to Legion. So for those of you who are already playing and want a refresher, or if you're trying to get your friends into it, we're basically, what I'm doing is starting from the beginning. And I've been inviting people from the community, like David joined us and Ryan from Stabcast has joined us, and we talk about all the beginnings of how to play the game and really get you started.
Yeah,
So
it's great to be
it's
muted when you're trying to plug something, so I'm going to try this again. Because I have push to talk normally on my streams, but I cannot do that here so that I can make sure everything's consistent. I was trying to say, y'all should go check out Notorious Scoundrels podcast and thefifthtrooper.com because, like Jay said, they've got great resources for aspiring players and veterans alike.
Yeah.
And you get connected to the wider community through them. So that's absolutely something you should do. But let's move on to why are we here? Why are we doing this stream? Well, I can answer that question, but Jay, I'd like to let you talk about that because I think you have an answer as well that you can share with the people.
Yeah, I mean, we're really here to talk about two men, right?
Yep.
Two Legion players, two podcast hosts, two of our friends, mine and yours, David, maybe
Yes.
some of yours watching. I don't know. I don't know who's watching. And, I think it'll be an opportunity to watch these two guys who are friends and rival and maybe learn something
Yeah, it's
about
not. It's
Legion
not. It's
along the
not
way.
a. It's not
Yeah.
a. It's not a, quite a Legion romance. It's more of a. It's more. It's a Legion bromance, is what it is.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah,
guys.
there
These
you
guys
go.
met through Legion. They played Legion. They've had like star-studded careers, and
Yeah.
we're just like pumping up the action surrounding their next game, which is going to be Saturday, April 10th at 8 Eastern. Which you
Yeah.
should all come and watch. That's going to be on this stream. We're going to have 4 hosts. It's going to be a big panel.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be great. But yeah, so we're here to sort of share Kyle and Mike's Legion story, and maybe if you're newer to the game, maybe you'll learn a little bit about the game's history as well, because these two players have been playing since the very beginning of the game.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
actually, I believe, first met at Nova Open. And before we move on to just talking about their history, I'm just gonna say like they got me into Notorious Scoundrels. Like they came to me and they said, "Hey, do you want to be on
Hmm.
this? Because we see that you write your blog, and we think that you have some good insights, and we could get a third hand in here." And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I decided to like just hop in, and I dove in head first, and Mike and Kyle were great influences on the way I play the game. I emulated Kyle's style as a new player for a very long time, but Dash also taught me, hey, it's good to strike out on your own. It's good to try new stuff. It's good to disagree sometimes with the broader community. Your play best.
Yeah, if anybody has seen Dash's recent blog posts about why Empire's still good.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh man, the salt farmers are gonna come
Yeah.
pouring into the chat after hearing you say that. So, okay. So I wanna move on now to our first segment, which is gonna be about the players themselves, and we're gonna start with Kyle Dornbos,
Mhm.
Orkimedes. So let's take a look at a little player profile that I've put together of Kyle. So here he is. I believe this picture that's on your screen right now is from Nova Open 2018. That's where this picture was taken. So yeah, Kyle goes by Orkimedes. Believe he got that name from 40K. That's where his background is. He has a background in 40K. He came to Legion playing Rebels, and recently he has moved on to the Separatists. And he also had a little stint as Empire for a little bit. So he's definitely like a global player. He's played like almost all the factions. The only faction he hasn't really played much of is clones. I don't actually think he owns a clone army, but he did say that he was going to get into clones because of Yoda potentially.
Yeah, but he dabbles, right? Like he dabbled into Empire for a little while, and then he'll go, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then he'll learn that he likes the other two factions better. So even even if he did it, I think it would last for like 5 minutes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So Jay, why don't we list off his accomplishments here? Because he of the two, he actually I think has the longer curriculum vitae, or however you say it, the longer list of honors.
Okay, so he was. You want me to start like at the
Yeah, just
biggest
when you talk about
biggest
his,
first?
yeah,
Yeah, so in the only worlds, I was going to say the 2019
yeah,
worlds,
I know
but the
the only
only worlds
worlds.
we've had, he was a runner-up, so he was in worlds.
Yeah,
He was a Nova winner in 2019.
yep,
He did Invader season 3 champion, right,
yes,
David?
yes. He went 10
Uh,
and 0 playing Imperial.
yeah,
Yeah, he wrecked house with
yeah.
Empire, but this was before the Dark Times, before the Clone Wars.
Let's see what else. He Invader season 4 third place, right?
Yes, third
And
place game. Yep.
third place at High Command, which was leading into Worlds. That was the we had the High Command before Worlds, and yeah, that's kind of his. Those are his big ones.
Yeah, those are his big tournament finishes. And
He's
now,
beaten me a few times.
yeah, he's definitely beaten me more than a few
Yeah,
times. He's beaten a lot of people. He's
yeah,
actually, I think, one of the winningest players in the game today.
yeah.
I think that's his reputation. I think if you go on the InvaderLeague.com website, he's got one of like the most craziest win records. I think he's like 30 something and 4 or something like that. It's kind of crazy, but anyway, I wanted to quickly mention Invaders season 4. He got there playing Operative Luke, so he
Yeah.
went back to Rebels in season 4 with Jedi Luke, and Jedi Luke unfortunately lost to Tauntauns
Mm.
because Kyle did not play in his normal style, which is a defensive, a patient style, a calculating style. Right? He never lets you have anything for free. And I'm trying to think of the other point I had here. Let me look at my notes real quick. Um,
Oh, you want to talk about how his kind of style of
yeah,
play
yeah, I want
as
to talk
well?
about his style of play now. So okay, so he plays really tight, right? He
Yeah,
keeps it really close to the chest. He likes being that defensive player.
yeah. He is the yeah. He's the like. What? How did you word it, David? Marginal advantages. Like
Yes.
yeah, he loves taking like playing Kyle is literally like playing a grandmaster in chess or like the well for me the computer in chess because I'm really bad but
No,
but
me too, buddy.
it's yeah but it's like they just know what you're going to do before you do it, and then if you start to get like a little crazy and you're like, oh, I'm going to do something that Kyle will never expect, he just waits for you to like tucker yourself out, and then he attacks, you know.
I can attest to that. I have definitely been in games where Kyle's patience has just worn me out. Like
Yeah,
I exactly, you're just like, oh man, I just want to roll some f bomb dice, and you just go for it, and then it's like, oh, you just fell on your own sword. I got
yeah,
you. Like Kyle is totally like Kyle does not like you say. It's very it's he's kind of accused of being like a dispassionate kind of player.
yeah,
You know, like you say, mechanical, like a computer. But I think that's kind of a lie. I just think he's really patient, and it kind of looks mechanical. Um, but I'm going to talk a little bit about his history here. So he spent a lot of the pre-Clone Wars era playing some variation on Luke Skywalker. Right when he first got into the game, he was a Rebel player, and he's been Rebel like all the way up until about the middle of season 3 of Invader League, which is like
yeah,
early 19. Then he kind of swapped to Empire. When he played Empire, he played Bosk Veers, went 10-0 in Invader League.
yeah,
Then Tons and Shores dropped. And when Tons and Shores dropped, he said, you know what? Screw Tauntauns. I'm going to go play Palpatine.
yep,
He just said, like, Tauntauns don't make any sense to me. So I'm
yeah,
going to go play Palpatine, which totally makes sense, right? Because Kyle,
yep,
you'll notice something. Kyle, like, rarely, if ever, is without a Force user. And that is true here in this NS Civil War, uh, because he's going to be playing Maul on the
yep,
weekend. And so
yep,
we're gonna get to that. So after his stint in Empire, Clone Wars dropped, and then when Clone Wars dropped, he said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go play, CIS because Dooku looks like Palpatine, just in a different skin. It's sort of like Palpatine as a Force user
yeah. And I think originally too, I remember
or as a
we put
Jedi.
out,
Excuse me. He is, of course, Palpatine is a Force. It's Palpatine
yeah,
with a lightsaber,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So early on, when CIS first came out and we were looking at it, we wrote a blog post about order control with CIS, and I remember I'm attributed as the author, but Kyle definitely helped me write it, and he was so excited about the order control because that's completely his style, right? It's like, let me give everybody orders, and then I get to decide what happens next and when it happens, and it just fits. It just, everything about Kyle, it just fits to him perfectly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and he's also like, we're gonna move on in just a second, but he loves the Separatists because they support their Force users just so well,
Yeah,
and that total control is so nice on your Force users. You don't specifically need it, but at the same time, it's like you never have any like errors essentially in that regard.
yeah,
You've reduced the randomness of the order pool. You don't have to worry about what you're going to go with next. It's never worrisome for you. Okay, let's move on to the other gentleman in this duo, Mike Berry. Oops, I left my screen on there. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to pull up Mike's profile here. So I got Mike here giving the double thumbs up. There we go. We got him in there with the double thumbs. So Mike is Dashz, goes by Dashz. He plays Empire. He is it's very interesting. They're kind of the opposites of each other in that regard, right? So you got Kyle, who really plays Rebel and really plays Separatist. And then you got Mike, who really plays Empire and
yeah,
really plays Clones. So they really
yeah.
are kind of a mirror image of one another. And I think that's one of the reasons they're such good friends. Another reason I think that's why they work so well together on the show. But yeah, so let's see here, Jay, if you want to talk about Mike's accomplishments here on this
Yeah.
list. It's just a little bit of a shorter list, but that's not through
Well,
through lack of skill. It's through lack of being able to
I
travel to tournaments.
I had a height joke there that I'm gonna reserve.
Oh,
So
please reserve.
you guys can infer it.
Oh
So
no.
Invader season 5 finalist, did really well with the clones and Rex in that season. He placed first at the RPQ at Huzzah Hobbies. Now, can I briefly, the reason that's important is Huzzah Hobbies is like a freaking gauntlet, like of top players. Gordon Chase, Kyle, Mike, I'm sure there's others. I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's like 3 or 4 others that all had invites to high command. Like, they're all serious players, so that's why that's a big deal. 11th place at high command, another great finish. And yeah, I'll let you go on to his
Yeah,
play style
his
here.
he is definitely the opposite of Kyle in the sense that Mike is a lot more aggressive. He likes to establish control through aggression,
Yeah.
whereas Kyle establishes control much more through a passive style. Um, I have in my notes here, he thrives in situations where improvisation is rewarded, and he likes to push
Yep.
you out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
And I should know that better than anybody. It's kind of been a story of the last couple weeks. Dash's, in his last game, he played Eternal RMG. Or not, no, he didn't play Eternal. He played Sammy P. I get the clone players confused. They all kind of look alike. You see, they all play clones. So they're all clones of each other. So the Sammy P lost two of his strike teams early on in the game, which is the exact same thing that happened to me at LVO 19 against Dash when he was playing Bosk. And so I was like, oh man, that is so familiar. And he even commented on the podcast, like, I know exactly what David's thinking right now because I cast that game. Because he just knew the connection right there. I was like, oh man, that's like almost poetical. But yeah, he is definitely a person who is really like looking for those turn one punishes.
Yep.
You know, he's like really trying, and that's how he establishes his control, is by looking for the turn one punish.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely, in all the games that I've played him too, it's very much he's going to put you on your back heels first so that you feel like you're climbing the hill to try to come up to him, right? And that's I mean that's out that alpha strike mentality that's been around since, Veers basically got released. It's that same kind of idea.
Now, before we finish up with his player profile, I just want to make sure that people know that there is currently a trivia prediction here. You have a chance to win some Yavin based channel points right now.
Oh, snap. Nice.
The question is, has Mike ever beaten Kyle as the red player? And so
Oh,
you've got about a couple of minutes left to answer that channel points question. If you can't see it, just hit F5, refresh the chat, and it should pop up for you. The big game, Federale Ondi is asking, when is the big game? It is Saturday, April 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Yavin Base. And if you ever forget that, you can look down at the bottom of the screen. There should be a little promo. It says Notorious Scoundrels Civil War 2, Saturday, April 10th, 8 p.m. EDT. So you should always be able to refer to that during this entire broadcast. Okay, so just to wrap things up with Mike. Mike, you mentioned this earlier, Jay. He is a proselytizer. That is someone who is constantly promoting. He's a proselyte of
yeah,
of these unconventional lists. He's
for
like
sure.
he always like, his big sticking point was Vader, right? I can't say he's the biggest Vader fan because Nerfly has that wrapped up.
Yep.
For those of you that know Nerfly is a map maker who is like Mr. Vader. But
Oh,
Dashz is also in a lot of ways Mr. Vader, and he played Vader a lot.
yeah.
And he even in LVO, he played Vader, and he played Vader with Bosk, which is like a really rare combo.
Yeah.
It's like Commander Vader and Bosk is like, oh my gosh, what? Like who was running that? Literally no one was running that.
Yeah.
But I saw in our game, I saw that Vader and Bosk had a lot of play against Tauntauns, because Tauntauns were the thing, right? And so you had Bosk with that suppressive gun, you had him with the poison charge that the Tauntauns hated, you had Vader who was like super strong in melee, and the Tauntauns wanted to be in melee, right? So it was just a hard matchup for Tauntauns. So it was wise for him
Yeah.
to pick that sort of thing.
I always feel like he sees that, and when his choices, they seem wild, like as you look at him, but then when you start like looking at what he knew people were going to bring from a meta perspective, that he's always almost it's almost counter meta, but not at the expense of his own play, which I really like.
Definitely. Like he reminds me of a type of player, a little bit of myself actually. There's a huge, like, especially in wargaming, right? There's having the thought that you can take a unit that people competitively don't like very much and do well with it. There's a huge gap between having that thought and being able to execute on that thought.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
Dashz has, he's bridged that gap a lot of times, in my opinion. He really has. Okay, so the betting is closed. We're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to talk about the history of the Civil War. We're going to talk about their games that they've played together. All right, so let's talk about the Civil War history here.
Exciting.
And actually, we're going to get an answer to our prediction as we move into this segment. So You'll have your answer momentarily. You won't have to wait very long. All right, so here we go. So this is their history of gaming. So in their very first game they ever met, this was a Maximum Firepower being hosted at Nova 2018, and you can actually see like the evolution of the game in their lists, kind of, because in 2018 the game had just released. So what were the
Yep.
units that people were playing? Right, they were playing Luke, Leia, they were playing Vader and Bikes, and they were playing ATSTs, and really most importantly, key positions hadn't been errated yet.
Yeah.
People who play
Yeah.
the game now don't know what it was like to play against
Oh,
old KP as red.
yeah, the old days when we had to walk uphill both ways
I
to
know.
the KP.
Yeah, it was only 3 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
but 20 miles in the blizzard both ways or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah,
just to get the key position.
but for those of you that don't know, so what key position used to be, right, was that there was no central KP. There was always like you had the blue player able to choose two of the three objectives, and so of course they'd always put them in their own deployment zone. And some
Yep.
of these tables at these early events were so sparse you could like stack them together on like one barricade. So it basically became, if you can't break blue's turtle, you lose.
Yep.
Right? And so what the hell are you going to do to break a turtle as Vader Bikes? Like that's like hard to do, right?
Yeah.
So Mike did not take Kyle down, but that was kind of the first time they ever met across the table from one another was that game, and this was, and I mean that's so Kyle, right?
Yeah.
To have that defensive objective, and Kyle loved, anybody who's watched Kyle's games knows, and not to discredit him or to disrespect him, he likes to establish that turtle so he can play his game.
Yep.
And that's a hallmark of a good player, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I almost want to discount that game for Mike's sake, just because of the key positions and the blue player. Because back then that was almost auto win in some of those regards, you know. So yeah, let's move on to the next game. I don't like that game for
Okay,
Mike. I don't like
let's
that
not.
game
We don't
for
like
Mike.
that game.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said, right, that Huzzah Hobbies is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Now those of you who aren't familiar with Huzzah, right? This is one of like the biggest stores for competitive tabletop, just in general, right?
Hmm.
If you play tabletop competitively, you've probably played at some point if you've ever played in Nova, you've probably gone to Huzzah at some point, right? So Huzzah was like, as you said, it was this big gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
And I did mention Vader Bosk. Now this is interesting because you see who is marked in the W column.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
right.
talking
That's
about.
right. It's Kyle. So the answer to our trivia is that Kyle did beat Mike as red, but it's really interesting because the way that Mike did this was not conventional. Certainly, I don't know how you even manage this given where they usually hang out on the board. But I'll tell you, Bosk traded for Sabine,
Mhm.
which is just not usually what happens. And Bosk is worth less than Sabine because Sabine is usually she's like 125 base, and Bosk I think at the time was 120 base as well, or maybe less. He might have been like 110. I don't remember if his cost changed. Do you remember if his cost changed? I
don't think so. I think he's the same as he was.
Yeah. So basically the point is he's cheaper, and so
Yep.
Bosk traded for Sabine. And Kyle was not able to make up the difference, and so basically Mike took that blue player advantage that Kyle was hoping to get, made an aggressive trade, and then punished him by turning the whole game on its head. And he said, "Now you have to walk into me. Now I'm ahead on points. Yep. So how do you like playing the attacker?" And that's what I mean when he pushed Kyle out of his comfort zone.
Yep.
Right. He really did a good job with that. All right.
Oh, and the answer is 115 for Bosk.
Oh, 115. Okay, great. So yeah, so Bosk Hunter is 121. That's where I was getting 120 from. That must have been where I was getting it from. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hey, did you watch did you watch their first Civil War game? Did you watch that?
Some of it, yeah. I did.
So how wild are these lists? Like suddenly they don't meet across the table from one another again until now, which is a long time, right? Like the Huzzah RPQ was like early to mid 19. And now here we are in 21, and we're talking about round robin Invader 6,
Yep.
which is
Yeah,
pretty
right.
crazy.
Oh man, yeah, I couldn't. I when I saw Mike's list, I was just like, yeah, dude, I don't know.
What the hell is that?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
It's like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's a great idea, but
Yeah, but
all
you
right.
know, you do you. I mean,
Yeah,
he did okay. He did message me at one point. He said, "Is this just crazy? Am I just stupid?" And I'm like, I don't like it, but if you get blue, you're probably insanely good. And he sort of knew that I can speak to this. He kind of outplayed Mike a little bit. Mike outplayed Kyle in the sense that Kyle was waffling. Kyle's infamous for waffling, right?
yep,
He's made the waffle part of his identity,
yep, yep.
right? In fact, doesn't he have isn't his symbol a Scoundrels logo with a waffle on
Yeah, he
it?
put them on custom tokens in TTS.
Yeah, yeah. So he has no idea. Yeah. So I mean, he had no idea what list he wants to play at any given moment usually.
Yep.
And so he had sort of just went into round robin, doing what he had been playing recently, which was experimenting with Rebel Trooper captains. And he was sort of like, well, let me try not doing a Force user. And then of course Mike's like, if he's been experimenting with this, and I know he's just going to play what he's played recently, I can kind of counter list him a little bit.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
so Mike messages me and he says, you know, not during the game, mind, but just before the game, because lists are unlocked basically. You can play whatever you want in the round robin phase. And he says to me, Mike is crazy. And then I look at his list and I see he's got triple naked barks.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck is this? He's the reason I've been on this bark binge actually, because barks they did surprisingly well.
Yeah.
It was he kneecapped all these strike teams with those barks, and those barks were not trivial to kill without the pierce from the
Yeah.
snipers, right? And so he immediately went over, and that's Mike's style. He's like, strike teams are the weak point of many lists, and I'm gonna go kill them.
Yeah, and it's like that. And I think that's kind of it's funny because I think as we're talking about this, right? I
Yeah,
hope we're painting this picture that they both play on each other's weak points, right? That's what they're both good at. So they're like the opposite sides of the fence. And where Kyle loves that order control, and then Mike comes along and pulls some of those orders out of his stack and says, "Yeah, you don't have those anymore." By taking out those strike teams.
exactly. He kind of undercuts Kyle's strategy there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was also really interesting to see that Mike winning his blue there. It was hostage exchange, which is the best possible objective, I think, for Obi-Wan and Anakin when you have two force pushes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really got that battle deck going. And again, that's another important thing to say. This is post Vital Assets. Vital Assets, a very divisive expansion, simply because there are two objectives in it: bombing run and hostage exchange, that are both incredibly skewed towards certain styles of list.
Yeah.
Bombing run skewed towards triple staps, hostage exchange skewed towards Maul, Obi-Wan. Basically anything with a force push is going to do really well in hostage exchange. I actually got my ass kicked by Vader on hostage exchange recently because he took my hostage and he hit Vader's might and threw me over a building. It was just oh great, like head in hands. How did I not see this coming?
Yeah.
I should have canceled for intercept. That was ridiculous. Jennings Soko asked, "They're just counting tourney games." Yeah, we're just counting tourney games
Yeah.
in this. It's not. We're not just. I mean, obviously they play a lot just as casual games, but I think this is specifically tourney games and games with
Yep.
stakes.
Yep.
So winning a major, staying in Invader League, because Mike actually put Kyle in a position to be eliminated by beating
Yeah.
him in that game,
Yep.
and basically this is going to be payback because Mike knocked Kyle down a peg, and Kyle had to he had to play a must win, which is very stressful, to get out of his group. And now Kyle has an opportunity to avenge himself and say hey, you can't. I've come back and now I'm playing a serious list where I've got Maul and B2s,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and those Mauls and B2s are going to be pretty crazy.
Oh.
And so we're gonna get into their actual rosters here in a second. I'm trying to see if I've skipped anything. Do you see anything in the notes that I've skipped? I hope I haven't.
No, I think you're good.
Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and pipe us into the rosters. So let's talk about this roster here. This is Kyle's roster. So Orkimedes is playing Rogered. That's the name of his list because he's playing droids, of course. So what do you think of this? It's Maul, Saber Throw, Force Push, Tenacity, three B2s with the Ha Troopers and T Series tactical droids. He's also got the Commander T Series. So to play this list, you would need 4 specialist packs with aggressive tactics, a BX droid strike team, the DRK droids that Maul comes with, and 3 of the E5C trooper battle droids just for some extra volume.
Yep.
I mean, I look at this list and I think this is just brutal. Like you've got tons of shooting, you got tons of other firepower. How would you feel if you set up from across from this thing? What a machine.
Yeah, I'd be confused, I think, at first, right? Because I think when you look at it, like the makeup is odd, and so you're going, what is happening here? You know, with like only the one BX strike team, and you're going, I don't understand. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know what to focus on in this list, right? And that would be very confusing, I think, on the offset. And then you're like, I think you're secondary as an opponent, and I'm pretty sure the last game Kyle played, his opponent got caught with this, but where you're like, oh, it's only one BX droid unit, you know, I'll be all right. Like, and then they do a ton of work and punish you like really bad. And so yeah, I think it's one of these lists that you just don't know what to focus on. I don't know, you know, you'd have to wait to see what Kyle exposes. You know, I know in one of his past games he maybe exposed Maul a little too early. I believe it was in the game just before this one. And
Yeah.
so, you know, stuff like that. And then you're going to have to wait for your moments because none of these are easy units to try to take care of.
Right. And you mentioned something there. You said, what am I going to deal with first? And the answer is like all of these units, maybe apart from the E5, well, even the E5Cs, man, they're threatening. Like every single thing in this list is threatening. And he's also got that comm relay on the DRK droid, so he can always get that order out to Maul if he really needs it.
Yeah, because, you know, you want to go, all right, I'll focus on the battle droids, but then you're just trying to get through sheer numbers. And, you know, I think clones and some Empire lists have enough firepower to get through the numbers, but sometimes you don't, right? And you're wasting all these activations on these units that you're like, okay, I can easily get rid of these, but then they're just like taking forever to get rid of. While the B2s, Maul, and the BX are kind of positioning and then getting in place to punish you.
Right. It's threat saturation.
Yeah.
Right. You've got Maul, you've got B2s, you've got a sniper and E5Cs, and every choice that you make presents a risk. Right, if I go after Maul, the B2s are going to clap me. If I go after the B2s, because I know they can take damage, I don't have to waste time shooting a red save with a dodge, and maybe even a surge from aggressive tactics. Then Maul is going to just cut me open, right? And then if I'm going after the B1s, well, I haven't dealt with any of the bigger threats.
Yeah.
So I just can't. I mean, I just don't know how to handle it. It's a lot. And you know what else? It has a 20-point bid. So that's even better. It's got a 20-point bid. So he's gonna be blue. I'm sorry. He's gonna be blue. Yeah. He's gonna be using his battle deck.
So, and then, well, and the other thing is like, okay, so, and listen, I'm an Empire player, so I'm coming from an Empire frame of mind, but like part of you is when you face lists like that aren't droids, you're like, okay, this is okay because I'll just start suppressing them and that'll cut some of these I don't necessarily have to kill them. I just need to suppress them. Well, that's not gonna work, right?
Right, because they're immune to suppression because they're freaking droid troopers. It just this list just has so many things going for it. I can't even you know, it can keep going, but let's take a look at what Mike is playing. So Mike he's been playing Rex essentially.
Yeah.
Oop, that's the wrong button. I need to bring up not his profile. I need to bring up the roster. Okay,
while
cool.
You're doing that, somebody said they look forward to the next 5th Trooper podcast. Me too, buddy. I'm working on it. I promise.
Yeah.
We delayed a couple of weeks just to get the right people in place, but it's coming. I promise.
Awesome.
All right, go ahead, David.
That's really cool. No, dude, I'm glad. It's nice to see that your fans are in the chat too.
Yeah.
This is a joint venture. You know, we're trying to see how this works. It's nice to collaborate with someone as established as a 5th Trooper. So Dash is playing Rex. His list called Rex is back again. It's an Eminem reference. For those of you that don't know Eminem, white rapper from the early noughts. So Captain Rex with aggressive tactics and recon intel, kind of standard. No jetpack, no offensive push, not quite as standard. Arc Trooper strikes. He's got 3 of those. Very standard.
Yeah.
You got fives in a phase 2. That is not standard.
Yeah.
And with offensive push, so he's got 5s in a phase 2. That unit is courage 3, and it's got the ability to get an aim just randomly for free. And it's 102 points, which is hyper expensive for a core unit. Usually 100-point cores are something you shy away from. That's definitely unique. He's got a phase 1 with a Z6, probably just due to points concerns. And if he wants to fire support, a phase 1 does the job just as well as a phase 2. So you just run a phase 1 instead. He's got a clone commander with vigilance, which is interesting. That's a way to punish non-engagement, I feel, because what happens is the clones keep their dodges and then they can just put them wherever because of clone token sharing.
Yep.
So you've got the ability to store dodges with vigilance. The clone commander is also really good because he can aim and then bolster. So that gives the phase 2s more surges. It gives them aim tokens as well. And then you've got 3 phase 2 clone troopers. Oh gosh, I can't even go on to the phase 2s because I didn't mention direct. So the clone commander has direct, and 5s gives you free order. So the clone commander directs to 5s always, and you always have extra orders. So you'll always turn that fire support option on. You'll always turn strict orders if you had it. But even on the 1-pip turns, you'll be turning on aggressive tactics a couple more times, which is always good. Aggressive tactics, an upgrade worth its weight in gold if you can get orders. Yeah, really, truly is.
And I mean, really, if you look at this list without seeing Mike play it, just from looking at what he has in there from units, this is all about taking advantage of what clones do best, which is share tokens and fire support.
Yep.
Right? Like this is taking full advantage of that and just saying, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna do then, and and punish people. And I think it was his last game or the game before, maybe last game, he erased an arc or 2 off of a turn 1 take that clankers. Like,
they just erased them. Like it wasn't even close.
Yeah, and
just boom,
so
boom.
Like, yeah, he's crazy with this list. He's really good with clones, anyways. But like this, you've watched more games, David, of his during Invader League, but I feel like this one in particular, he's real. There's something like really magical happening with him in this list.
Yep, and I almost think it has to do with a breakthrough he had about R2D2 in the last few months. He basically said, you know what? I don't need R2D2 to win. I just need more clones. And so he decided I just need more clones. And so he instead of where R2D2 normally goes, now you have the clone commander who is massively synergistic with the main point of the list, which is take that clankers, go boom. That's kind of like what you do. You point at something and say, you know what, that thing, I want it dead. You basically called in the Marines and killed everything. And I mean, this list is absolutely rock solid, right? You've got arguably the best strike teams in the game. You've got arguably the best core in the game. They're Courage 2. They generate their own surges. There's all kinds of just good stuff here. It's very elite, but it's about the most, it's one of the most bodies you can get on the field, I think. It still has 25 troopers in it and 5 heavy weapons. So that's a lot, all things considered. And it strikes out to range 4.
Yeah, and I think somebody wrote in the chat there, it's full power creep cheese, but yes, right?
Yes,
absolutely. But it's all legal, so why not, right? If they're gonna make it legal, if they're not gonna retcon anything and fix it, and you want to win, do it. Right? I mean, and so like this, it's a whole bunch of oversight put in one list, and Dashz is completely taking advantage of it.
I love it. A whole bunch of it's You make it sound like he's exploiting a bug almost.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
that's
but
exactly how
no,
I
no, Jay,
feel.
this is a feature. This is a
Yeah,
feature. It's not a bug.
it's a feature,
It's a
not a
feature.
bug.
All right.
Well,
No, seriously though.
well, when they
So
release the patch notes soon
yeah.
for this game.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So it's interesting too. He's missing a command card that has to be Attack of the Clones in
Mm,
that third command slot. But
yeah,
yeah, like this is
probably.
basically just how to make Clone Trooper as the craziest it can possibly be. And
Yep.
Sarmanem saying in the chat, I think not taking the jetpack is kind of a hot take. I kind of agree. I really like Rex with the jetpack. I get really sad when I see Rex with no jetpack. But the list, ultimately the list is about Rex's two pip, right? It's not so much about
Yeah.
Rex himself. It's about the two pip and the one pip.
Let me
Can you?
ask you this.
Yeah,
Do
go
you
ahead.
think the jetpack is a distraction in this list and that's why it's not in here?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm trying to look at like what did he? So he obviously gave up. He gave up something, or sorry, he gave up the jetpack for some reason, and
Yeah.
that reason might have been to get a fourth phase two.
Hmm.
Because the question is, I mean, maybe the answer to your question is yes, because you've got the jetpack for 5 points, but if you take the jetpack out, if you can fit a fourth phase two, that if that phase two lives for the entire game, that's 6 surges.
Yep.
So you're basically saying, is it worth Rex to have jump two one move per turn every turn, or is it worth it instead to have more surges? And I think the answer is undeniably more surges,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed. Because I think between being tactical enough and positioning when you deploy that you can avoid what you would need jetpack for anyways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm saying it's like he's so confident in his ability to shoot his enemies and like his enemy breaking on the anvil. That's the clone save essentially.
Yeah.
Doesn't look at the flexibility for Rex to make the big hero moves. I don't 100% agree with that. I think he understands the significance of Call Me Captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really. I think he really does understand that.
Well, and if you're trying to if you're trying to clone ball, right, and murder ball with the clones, do you really want Rex out cowboying? Probably not. I think you want him more with the murder ball, right? And doing what murder balls do best.
Yeah, which is killing your opponent.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the first 2 turns are basically dedicated to killing your opponent between take that clankers and maybe attack of the clones. Just getting all the aims, all the surges, and just blowing your opponent up because you have just extremely heavily modified attack dice. And
Yep.
and the clones can do that like no other list in the game or no other army in the game can is produce modified attacks. And that is totally Dash's mo is I'm not going to rely on chance to make to make my crits happen. I'm going to
Yep.
force everything to happen by using a ton of aim tokens and a ton of surges and just make the most accurate attacks I can make. And my opponent's saves are worse than mine, and the more attacks I make that are charged up like that, the better I'm going to do because the person who is in the lead on attrition controls the flow of the objective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, I wonder, from Kyle's perspective, I think this is going to push the boundaries of that patient and wait that he has in him, right? I think that this type of a list is one of those lists that's going to force Kyle to be a little bit more aggressive, and it could open up for some mistakes. Now that being said, I think Kyle has an opportunity here to do what Kyle does best and just kind of do the like standby aim or standby dodge moves, right? And
Right.
just wait for Mike to do what Mike's going to do. And then punish Mike for moving up too quick and too fast, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he wants to do. Because what Kyle's big advantage is that he has the cover denial and he's also got Maul, which is a huge
Yeah.
threat. And if Maul can be maneuvered properly, if Maul can survive the Call Me Captain turn without taking too much damage, Maul will be in a brilliant position
Yeah.
to control the game and to just win. Now, there's another thing we should definitely talk about is the map. I saw Night Goblin in the chat earlier mention it. Um, we're gonna look at the map really quickly here. So this is the map.
Ooh.
This is No More Subjugation. This is a map by Nerfly. So this is the overall map here, and
Ooh,
I hope
Bratters.
hopefully you can
Ugh.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see
Oh
the.
God.
Yeah, you look at this and you're like, man, where do I go?
Whoa.
Yeah, this is now this is not that great for Kyle, really. I don't
No,
think. Yeah, so a
no.
lot of those clips, it's a little bit tough to see. It's mostly height one.
Yep.
Um, there's a few spots he can hide. Really not many though, and not many close to the middle. There are no like true hiding spots that are on the middle, and so you wonder if the clones are just going to dominate the field.
They might. Yeah, I mean maybe that bottom left seems like a good place to maybe maneuver a little bit and like move up, towards the top to the middle and come through that way if you're going for something through the middle. I mean that's kind of where I'd be wanting to go if I was Kyle, because I just feel like on the right hand side there's too much open space to try to move through. And
Yeah,
then you try to get, it looks like that hill up on the top towards the middle kind of has on the right and on the left, maybe you can get up and down. It looks like there's kind of like ramps there to get up and down. But man, I don't know. Yeah, Kyle's gonna want that left hand side of the board.
I think so too. He's gonna want something to hide behind. Maybe if they get like a battle lines deployment, and Kyle's in the southern half, he can
Yeah,
probably use that kind of horizontal series of cliffs there to hide his maul behind. I think that would
yeah.
probably be good. Unfortunately, battle lines does put him really easily in range of tank that clankers on turn one, and I don't
Oof.
think he can stuff his entire army behind that. I
No, I
don't
don't
think
think
it's
so.
possible. He might
I've
opt for a
seen
long
though. I've seen
deployment.
Kyle do crazier things, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
if he's a rebel, he's a
yeah,
rebel player, right? He's excellent at doing clown car.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, this is called clown
Yeah,
car.
yeah. He's
So
really good at it.
so
Yeah.
I want to take some questions from the chat. So the chat is asking, okay, so we answered what map they'll play on. Are we going to see WWE style smack talk from them? Unfortunately, I was not able to get a recording of them by airtime, so
Yeah.
I really wish I could have pulled that off. If
We could tell some of their jokes. David and I were going over some of the jokes they could tell the other day in
Yeah, we were we
chat.
were asking. We did have some of the. Yeah. So what did we say?
That Kyle was going to calculate Mike's chances on a calculator and then just show the screen and it would say
Yeah. It would
zero.
say
Yeah.
zero. Yeah. I've calculated your odds of winning. They are zero.
Yeah.
You know, something like that, or just yeah. Let me look for that.
Yeah.
Shoot. I'm sorry. Ambush.
That's all right. So some of the how will the what? How will the heavy cover affect the matchup? Um Yeah, I mean, listen, clones behind heavy cover are damn near unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like you get clones into heavy cover and they have a bunch of surge tokens and dodges. Like, good luck killing
Man,
them. I don't know
that
how.
totally reminds me too. Mike only has like Pierce from the BX droid and from Maul.
Yeah.
Like his whole list is not piercing. He's only got like two Pierce pieces, and so he
Oh,
is going to
that
be at
lack
the
of heavy cover.
he's going to be at the mercy
Yeah.
of Kyle or of Mike's save, essentially his defense dice. The map is mostly, yeah, he's right. The map is mostly light, actually.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you're all
So
good.
he wrote dearth and I didn't know what that meant, so I just thought he meant more. So
what
he meant
turn will
lack.
what turn will Maul dive in without support? I might make that a poll during the
I,
game on
I
Saturday.
don't, man. Kyle is one of those guys that'll learn from his mistakes, so I don't know if he'll do that again.
No, he's fallen victim a few times to the
Has
Jedi
he?
rage. He really
Oh
has.
man,
I remember him saying seeing red a lot.
yeah.
He says he does see that. I want to answer another question. Have the players agreed to being cast on Zoom for the game? So I asked them if they wanted to have that done. Uh, uh, Kyle specifically was not game for that because it was
Yeah,
very distracting, and I totally
yeah,
get that. I wanted that to be the case. Like I love the idea of having face cam, like of seeing the players react to plays and all that sort of thing. But it's a little bit tough. I think for the players, it puts extra stress on them because now they're also worrying about how they look while
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
playing.
I could never do that. Like, especially in Invader League or something. Like, we got Team League coming up, your Team League.
Yeah,
Man, there's lots of times I have to mute the mic and I'm just flipping off the TTS screen because I get so, and it's
yeah.
not even my opponent, it's just
You
TTS
have
that
no
drives
idea
me.
what's going on behind
Yeah,
there.
yeah, right. So I think I would be pretty opposed to a Zoom camera on me during a game as
Yeah, me
well.
too. Like I have definitely like screamed during some of my TTS
Yeah.
games. I have definitely done that. I
Uh,
actually,
I'll be right back. Mute.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real. Yo, so okay, no joke. During my game with Inosatam, when his R2 rolled 5 blocks out of 6 saves, I literally slammed my desk and yelled like "fuck" at the top of my lungs because I was so angry.
Yeah.
But I was, I
Well,
think,
that's like, yeah, because it's that thing like when you're at these big tournaments and stuff, like generally you're playing a buddy across and you're disappointed when things go bad, but you're still having fun. So you're just like, oh man, that sucks. But it's fine. But like when you're at home and you're playing like this, like you don't see the other person and it's just this like computer blob in front of you. And you're like,
right.
I want to just punch a hole
It's
through
just
this
it's
thing
just a
right
voice.
now.
It's just a voice in a box,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
That's the equivalent. You have no like there's nothing to cue off of socially,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
There's nothing
And
there.
then your token falls through the map and you're like, I'm gonna lose
Right,
it.
or like or like the newest bug where you hit the split button and the tokens fall through the console, and you're just like, great, now I have to fish these out manually.
Right.
It's just a pain in the neck. Okay, so enough kvetching about TTS for now. I
Sorry,
think.
sorry
Oh,
everybody.
you're okay. You know what, Jay? By all means, I actually like it, but I think we should.
Don't worry, I do this on our streams too.
Yeah.
I just lose it about TTS for like 30 minutes.
So, chat, if you have any more questions at all, just go ahead and type them in the chat now. I want to make sure that people remember when this game is being broadcast because you've been here, you've been listening to us talk. You probably want to know when this game is going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen right now. I'll show you now. So this is going to be the Civil War II main event. It's going to be on Saturday, April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be casted by Endless, Thrawn. That's Zach from Notorious Scoundrels. R1H4, Eric Reha. Some of you know him from Invader League, and Technophobia. Some of him know as the Imperial player who was the last one to be eliminated from Invader League this season. So he'll be here to cast this with us.
Wow,
And it's
that is a lineup.
yeah, that is a long panel. How many weeks will the winner gloat on the podcast? I like that question. That's a good one.
All right, so David, I'm going to
Yeah,
ask you since they're
sure.
asking it in chat, who is favored to win and who do you think is going to win?
Who who is favored to win, and who do I think is going to win? That is a good
So
question.
if we take the map, we take the two lists, who do you think has a better chance of winning and then who do you think's actually going to win?
I'm sorry, Kyle. You're gonna get blown off the board. You're gonna get slaughtered.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clones are just gonna tee off and kill everything. I can't see him winning this unless he pulls some great objective out of the deck like hostage. And even then Rex has scouting party.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I think Mike is definitely favored here. The only way I could see this really screwing up is if he gets like payload.
Yep.
Like payload does not reward clones very much because they'd rather be taking tokens than moving. Push mitigates some of that. He
Yeah,
wants to avoid payload at all costs.
So I would say knowing Mike and playing Mike multiple times, unlike Kyle, again, these guys are polar opposites, right? Mike is a very emotional player and a very emotional guy in real life. And so I think that like if Kyle can hold the line and just punish Mike for every decision he makes, that he could potentially get to Mike and Mike could start letting that emotion bubble up and start making a couple mistakes here or there. That's totally possible, I think, too.
It's gonna 100% depend on his maul
Yep.
because he is completely outclassed at range 3. Like the clones, his list is like I've got some E5Cs for a little bit of shooting, and I've got 3B2s that deny cover, but their best attacks are range 2. So I have to walk through clankers to even touch the clone army, to even have a chance of doing damage.
Yeah.
So he has got to have an objective that does not care about attrition very much, like hostage exchange or like what's that other one? Key positions.
Yeah, something he can just hang on.
Yeah.
You know, if Kyle's going to be blue player, the other one that would be real interesting is if he had moisture evaporators.
Right.
Right, like make Mike come to him.
Well,
that would be
Vaps is an interesting one because depending if Kyle makes a mistake in deployment, which always possible, you never have perfect information when deploying. If he makes a mistake and Mike targets that with clankers and deletes a unit with clankers, that will turn the game around, and then Kyle or then Mike will basically be blue at that point. He'll just flip the script like he did in their second game.
Yeah.
When he won as red with Bosk and Vader. He'll replay that chapter of their history. We might see that on Saturday. It might come out that way.
So do you think then, so basically, if I'm hearing this right, is that we think until we see the objective and deployment, we think it could go either way?
Yeah, we really do. I think Kyle is the one with the hill to climb. I think that he is going to have to play his Maul insanely well. Like, he's going to have to play the best Maul game he has ever played against Mike. I really think so.
So do you think with Clone Ball like that, there is more freedom and slack, like in making mistakes? Dashz just entered chat. More freedom or slack in making mistakes than there is in Kyle's list?
I think so. Yeah. I think Kyle could very easily lose a B2 to the mass shooting at long range. I don't know if Kyle's running limited visibility in his deck. If he is, that will be great because he'll be able to mitigate clankers. I don't know if I should look. Is he running limited viz? Does this count as watching your own stream? No, it definitely doesn't, Dashz. It definitely doesn't. You don't have to worry about it. This does not count as watching your own stream.
Yeah, just earmuffs, Dashz. Don't listen to our talk. We're not.
Yeah, for real. So, by the way, if you're in the chat right now, if you're seeing it, check the chat because there's a poll. We want to know how you feel, what you think is going to be. Do you agree with our assessment? Do you think it's a 50-50? Do you think it's favored for one party or the other? If Kyle loses, will he join the Republic? Somehow I doubt it.
If Kyle loses, we're going to demote him to the Fifth Trooper podcast for a couple of weeks. He won't be able to be on Notorious Scoundrels.
Thank you, xtrav006, for subscribing with Tier 1. Thank you so much. Enjoy your core token badge with the Yavin base planet behind it. Yeah, but I definitely think that Mike is the one with the natural advantage here. I think he's the guy. I think he can do it. Kyle is going to have a road to climb. The poll is continuing to stack up here. We got 14 replies, and Mike is leading 2/3 to 1/3. He is leading in a landslide. People really think that Mike has got this in the bag. So don't let him down, Mike. Kyle, play the best game you ever played. Take standby. Just to rub it in. Well, no, Lunta, we just said he has the map advantage, I feel. That's my feeling as well. Hey, thank you, Krugar, for coming in with Prime 11 months. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
11
Tier
months.
1.
Amazing. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, Jay, I want you to do any plugs that you have for us because we're winding things down a little bit. We're at about 9 o'clock now, so we're gonna start winding things down. Do you have anything that you want to plug? Just feel free, go for it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
So earlier in the chat, a couple of people had asked when After Dark was going to happen again. And for those of you who aren't initiated, After Dark is our super special Patreon exclusive podcast where we get everybody from the Fifth Trooper Network on, and we basically just talk shit about stuff for like 2 hours. And it's like uncensored, just behind the scenes. Like we just, especially Mike and me, we just go hard to the paint. And so A couple people are asking when the next one's coming up. We're working on recording it now, and hopefully in the next week and a half we should have it up for you guys. So if you want to join us over on Patreon, even just at like $1 level, you get exclusive access to our After Dark podcast where we really talk some nonsense. And then other than that, just check out our website, fifthtrooper.com.
Speaking of talking nonsense and talking some shade, TW Carnes, I'm not voting for Mike. I'm voting for clones. Oh, that's actually a huge diss. I think.
Lucha wants to know if there's nudity. Yeah, the loser of this match will have to.
Oh no, I don't want to talk about Strip Legion, man. That's a terrifying thought. No one wants to see that.
That'll be fine. And if you guys haven't had a chance, we're doing that beginner's edition of the Fifth Trooper podcast. David here from your friendly Yavin-based community actually joined us the last episode we aired, and we talked about your turn. So if you want to hear David on our podcast and all his wisdom on how to take your turn, that would be great. That was a great episode.
It was interesting. I didn't realize just how deep that subject went until I really started thinking about it.
Yeah,
and it's I tend to think about, maybe I over intellectualize, maybe a little bit, just a little bit.
It's fine, because I under intellectualize. I'm like,
well,
I like moving my guys.
Me too. I like rolling dice, so maybe that's not the best thing. Maybe rolling dice is bad. Anyway, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and just plug again. Saturday, April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. It's going to be a crazy cool show to catch live. If you can catch it, please do that. We really hope to see everybody there. Jay, once again, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure to share this screen with you.
Man, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me on. This was great. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. I agree. I think so too. All right, let's we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks everybody. Again, follow Jay on Twitter at Fifth Trooper. He's over there. He's not over here. He's over there. He's right over there. So follow him on Twitter. Check. It's 8 Eastern, 8 o'clock Eastern time. EDT.
Eastern. We're all on the East Coast.
So at Fifth Trooper, fifthtrooper.com, Fifth Trooper YouTube, Fifth Trooper Network on Facebook, and then of course I am at yavinbase.blog. If you're interested in Team League, go ahead there and read about what's coming up in season 5. You can follow me on Twitter at Endless5055. I'm on Facebook at Yavin Base and YouTube and Yavin Base. All right, thanks everybody. We're out of here. We'll see you on Saturday night. Peace.
Bye.